Maybe you have something you want to create in your life, a flow state you want to step into, and you find it so hard and so difficult, where once it was easy for you. And I want you to not make this as an excuse, because like I mentioned, it is possible to step into it no matter where you are. But just question yourself as to whether or not you are in the right environment. And when I say right environment, I'm not saying the right city necessarily. I'm saying, are you living in mess? Do you need to do a massive house cleanup because all of this mess that is around you is in some way not allowing you the free space you need to think clearly within this area that you want to grow within, create within? Are you in a relationship that is just not supporting this thing that you want? Are you continuously allowing that relationship to get in the way, or that person's opinion to stop you or put you down whenever you try? Do you need to move into a new space, or do you need to go on a 1-month getaway vacation to really put this thing into action? I just thought I would mention you questioning it. Could there be something in the environment that you are in right now that is hindering you from taking action on that thing or from fulfilling that core value, which we'll get into how you can figure out what your core values if you're not even sure at this point.
Hi, my name is Pernilla, and this is my Challenge Your Norm podcast. I'm absolutely obsessed with anything related to personal development. And well, to grow, we got to challenge our norm. And so on this podcast, we chat about life and how we can challenge our normal way of living it to make it greater than we could have ever imagined. Just one little belief, habit, bold move, and challenge at a time.
Hello, my beautiful friend, and welcome back to another episode here on my Challenge Your Norm podcast, where today I'm coming to you from Scotland. I'm sitting inside of my hotel room here, and I've been here for a few days, and it's got me thinking about core values and the importance of fulfilling these core values in order for us to create the most happiness possible in our lives. And I want to share with you some thoughts and reflections I have done on this every single time I've come to Denmark, because Scotland reminds a lot about Denmark. It has a lot of similarities. Similar weather, similar buildings, and the people here are just so nice and so happy. And I want to kind of share these thoughts, reflections that I've done, and the reason I've chosen to move away from Denmark, regardless of all the beautiful things that Denmark offers, for me to find the most happiness and fulfillment in, well, now the last many, many years in LA and now traveling around the world, in order to hopefully inspire you to find, reflect on your life, get clear on what your core values are and how you can use this knowledge for you to potentially create changes in your life, for you to experience the most happiness and fulfillment within your life. How you can really assure that you are doing the thing that you need to be doing in order for you to set yourself up for success and the most possible happiness in your life. And whether or not you are in a place right now that allows you to do and be and have your core needs met in the best possible way. And as you will find, like, we're not always fully able to change it in a split moment, but we are able to look ahead and create a vision for our life in order for us to eventually down the line fulfill all of these needs. And I want to start off with sharing my most core essential need in my life. And my hope is that when I share these stories that you can kind of relate to whatever that is for you. And I will be going through how you can, if you've never gone through like a process to actually get really clear and determine what your core values are, I will share with you how to go about doing that. But I just kind of first want to share with you how all of this came about for me. And first, to understand this, something that I started getting very clear on early on in my early 20s was that my core value is freedom. One of my core values. I believe that we have like 3 essential core values. And the biggest one, or one of the biggest ones for me, is freedom. And for me, freedom means freedom to create, be, do whatever I want at any given moment. Like just freedom to wake up and create, freedom to wake up and do whatever it is that I want. And that I know for some people is not even possible because we have obligations in life, right? But I have been so privileged to be able to create a life for myself where I am able to do that. When I came to LA, that was the first time that I really got to experience it on a whole other level. I grew up in a place called Aarhus in Denmark where I had my whole family. I was blessed enough to have a loving family and my grandparents around, my siblings around, my cousins around. My whole family was there. And when I moved to Copenhagen, which is the capital of Denmark, 3 hours away from Aarhus, I did get to experience freedom suddenly on a new level, in a new way. I did at the time move away from my high school boyfriend. So that was, and my family. So that in itself was all just very hard at first, right? Like for the first time when you move away from your family and then also your boyfriend, like that can feel like a big change in your life. But I also knew I had to do it, and eventually I found like, wow, I don't have all these family dinners. I don't have, all these obligations that I used to have in Aarhus. So I felt this like newfound level of freedom to every day. I did go to school, dance school, and I also had a job that I went to every single day. So my day was really just fully packed, but I felt this like, my free time was really my free time. And I did find that also because I nannied at the time, I would walk around with these strollers while the kids were sleeping. This newfound level of mind freedom. My mind would wander off in new ways because I did have a lot of dance friends who I was with every day as well. But during these times of me just being by myself, I found this freedom of mind, let's call it, for the first time because I wasn't constantly with people in my free time, which is something I was in Aarhus, whether it be, with friends or with family whenever, I would in Copenhagen, I would eat by myself, for example, dinner sometimes, where in Denmark, I would always be eating with someone. So I found this like for the first time, like freedom of mind. And then when the year following, the year after, decided to come to LA, once again, I experienced this level of freedom on a new level because there was absolutely no obligations. I moved into a home called Home for Dancers where I found just the most beautiful, like-minded dance friends who I was with all the time, which made me also have my second core value fulfilled, which I'm going to share with you a little bit later in this podcast. But first, let's just stay on this topic of freedom, because when I came to the States, this whole world was just open to me as to how I could spend my time. I danced every day for many, many hours, but I was kind of in charge as to when I wanted to dance. Again, I had the freedom of mind, letting my mind wander because I had so much free time to just allow my dreams to sparkle in my mind as I was living my life. And I really just was fully in charge of my schedule. I didn't have those family obligations or anything obligated to attend to, which for me was a level of freedom. It did have its negative aspects to it because I would miss my family and I would miss my friends from back home, obviously. Like everything comes pros and cons, but it was a level of freedom that I could spend my time in whatever way I wanted to. And when I came back to Denmark to visit, I would, especially today, whenever I come back to Denmark, I really just admire Denmark for all of the beautiful things that it has. Like, I know many people will look at me in a weird way, asking me, like, why would you move away from Denmark when you find it so beautiful and so great in so many ways? Because I always feel so lucky to have come from such a beautiful country that has so many values that I am grateful for and that I really respect how Denmark has been able to create a country that just functions in such beautiful ways. Like going to school is free. You can become a doctor for free and even get paid from the government to go to school. The taxes are high, but it allows us to do that, but also allows us to have health care for free. And there's this level of trusting in people. Like whenever I see a Danish person, I just trust them with no, like, I just trust them. There's this level of respect for one another and wanting to take care of one another. There's really value time together and are just genuinely have a positive outlook on life and outlook on challenges. And there's just so many beautiful things from from being in Denmark. And whenever I'm in Denmark, I'm like, oh my gosh, I just love Denmark. But something every time I started visiting Denmark was missing. And I just got so curious as to what that was. I could not really pinpoint it at first. And it wasn't until I dug deep in my journaling that I realized, oh, it's because I'm missing certain aspects of fulfilling my core value, freedom, when I'm here. And it may not make sense when I share this, but maybe to some of you it will. One of the things that when I come to Denmark now that can be a challenge is this freedom to create. There's more layers to it, but let me just start off with that. Freedom to create. I am a fitness lifestyle content creator, and when I live in LA, I have the freedom to walk out the door and create anything and everything. And the reason for that is that, as a fitness influencer, I wear fitness clothes whenever I create. It's kind of a part of my image, my package in my content. And it's also just what I love to wear. Like it just fits me on all levels. When I'm in Denmark, it's cold, so I can't just like walk outside or be inside and wear fitness clothes. I'm packaged up in like winter coats, or even if it's like warmer, I'm packaged up because I'm cold. I've actually been sick for the last 5 days. I don't know if you can hear it on my, it's today is like the best day it's been, but whatever. Side note, it takes more of me to be able to like get into the state of just freedom to create whenever I want, because I have to like think of the idea, plan the idea in a more, I do that in LA too, or wherever I am too, like if I'm in hot places too, but it's easier to just snap into it and just do it. I love like just the freedom to do it whenever, wherever I get the urge to create something. And it's hard if it's cold. It's just hard. But that's not the only thing. The second thing is the lighting just does not look the same as when I am in LA. LA just has a special lighting that just makes all videos just automatically look good. And whenever I'm in Denmark, it just looks different. The lighting is just different. When I'm in fitness centers in Denmark, it's not really allowed to shoot either. So, or at least it's not allowed to get anyone in the background, which it isn't really in LA either, but people are more like, yeah, go girl. Where here it's like they look at you weirdly. So there's that aspect of it just not being as easy in that. And in Denmark, the background, like palm trees, obviously is a better look for when you're like in a sports bra and sports shorts. Like whenever you're creating something, it just gives off a better vibe. And then I'm a big believer in creative energy, as in the location that you are in the world have different energies. And when I'm in Denmark, I have like my flow state comes at me not as easily. It's harder for me to dig into my journaling in the morning. And I know some of you are going to think I'm nuts and crazy for saying this, but I don't know if you've experienced that when you land in a certain place in the world, you feel a shift in energy. I'm a big believer of that. Like when I land in a certain place in the world, I will be able to feel the energies that are in that environment. And Denmark has a beautiful energy, but it's a different energy. So it's very hard for me to get into my creative flow when I'm there. And yes, that's an excuse. It is, because I am able to get there if I put my face down and focus. Like, Pernilla, it's time. Let's go. Because I've done that multiple times where I'm like, Pernilla, enough is enough. Like, get your head down and make this work. It is possible, but it is so much harder for me to step into my free creative energy when I'm in certain places in the world. And it's very often colder places for some reason, for me specifically. And I want to share all of this with you because room service just came in to give us some fresh towels. I'm sharing this with you because maybe there's nothing wrong with you. Maybe you have something you want to create in your life, a flow state you want to step into, and you find it so hard and so difficult, where once it was easy for you. And I want you to not make this as an excuse, because like I mentioned, it is possible to step into it no matter where you are. But just question yourself as to whether or not you are in the right environment. And when I say right environment, I'm not saying the right city necessarily. I'm saying, are you living in mess? Do you need to do a massive house cleanup? Because all of this mess that is around you is in some way not allowing you the free space you need to think clearly within this area that you want to grow within, create within. Are you in a relationship that is just not supporting this thing that you want? Are you continuously allowing that relationship to get in the way, or that person's opinion to stop you or put you down whenever you try? Do you need to move into a new space, or do you need to go on a 1-month getaway vacation to really put this thing into action? I just thought I would mention you questioning it. Could there be something in the environment that you are in right now that is hindering you from taking action on the thing, or from fulfilling that core value, which we'll get into how you can figure out what your core values if you're not even sure at this point, because core values can change, and it's okay for it to change as we evolve, right? So I just wanted to share all this with you because maybe there's something that needs to be questioned there. And now that I'm aware of this, when I come to Denmark, it makes everything so much easier, because I'm aware that, okay, I may not be in the most creative flow energy wise, but I know I can get myself there. And how can I work with what I got here? Like, how can I make different content? Like, how can I make it good, regardless of me maybe not being in the most easy flow creative state? How can I think differently? The other thing I want to share just when it comes to freedom is that I love my family more than anything in the world. Every single human in my family means so much to me. There is a level of that I have, it's self-created obligation when I am in Denmark to make sure to see every single person when I'm there multiple times, right? Because if I'm only in Denmark so much, then I of course want to make sure to spend as much time with them when I'm there. But that also put a break sometimes to what I want to be creating. So that plays a role as well. The obligation that I self-created obligation to go see them multiple times while I'm there, which makes my schedule pretty busy whenever I'm in Denmark, as opposed to when I'm in LA, for example, where I have like the full day to myself and do whatever I want. Of course, I have obligations as like friends or, just other obligations, like work obligations. But when I'm in Denmark, it's very much like, I have a more scheduled plan, which for me, freedom means, because I grew up, I believe that's why. I grew up with a very tight schedule. I had my school, and then I had so many after school activities because I was very active and went to dance, and I did cheerleading, gymnastics. Like, I did all these different things in my childhood that made me like literally be out of the house from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. every day. And then I had homework and all that. So like my schedule was so tight that I think I've grown up to want to not have a tight schedule. Like, I want to be on my own schedule. So a part of taking away my core value of my freedom is having like structured plans. Like, I want to not even have a time where I go to the gym every day. I want to go to the gym when I feel like going to the gym. It's funny that I even say this, because I've been someone who's like literally, I've gone up at 4 a.m. every single day for the past 5 years or so, done my morning routine, gotten into work, and then gone to, like, I've had a very structured disciplined way of life, but it's still been on my terms. It's not been like having to work with what someone else has planned with me. My friends and I, we are all like the people who I'm very, very close to are all like, yeah, we may have a plan to meet today in the afternoon, but it's like we don't need necessarily like 4 p.m. sharp is when we meet. Like we're more like, hey, let's kind of play it by ear, is how we all like it. So I am, however, someone like if we do plan 4 p.m., like be there at 4 p.m. because of the respect for each other's time, more so than probably the people who I'm close to. I'm like that, but that's just because I value time so much that if I am there at 4 p.m., then or like they are there at 4 p.m., then I want to respect their time to be there at 4 p.m. and vice versa. But so that's something that feels like for me takes away from my freedom. And I am very well aware, I want to mention that again, that I'm so privileged, like that I get to do this, and I don't have kids. So I know that if I do have kids one day, everything is going to change a little bit. But I also think my whole mindset is going to change. Everything, it seems like, changes once you have kids in terms of priorities and just life. Becomes about this little human that you've put into the world. So I'm very aware that not everyone has the privilege to do this. But I think we can, like how when I'm in Denmark, which I've been in Denmark a lot recently, we can work with what we got. We can look at what do I need for my core values to be met, and how can I do my absolute best to make sure that that actually happens and that it's all aligned. However, like I mentioned in the beginning, we all have like 3 core values that oftentimes need to be met, because something that I experienced when I came to LA was, for the most part, all of those 3 of my core values being met. I have freedom, then I have love, and then I have positive energy. Those 3 are very important for me. Passion has been a big one for me as well, but I feel like passion goes under freedom for me, because when I have freedom, I have so much passion to do everything that I want to do. So those 3 are my main. And when I first came to LA, I felt like I had all 3 of those, even though at the time I maybe wasn't as aware of like those were my 3 core values and those are all being met. But I had those 3 being met, because love I had in the home for dancers that I was at, living with a house full of dancers who I created deep friendships with, and we ended up renting an apartment together, and I stayed and lived with them for a few years. And it wasn't until I moved into my own room. I didn't have money for my own apartment. I would live in a room in an apartment with other dancers, but not friends. Like we became friends, but not like friends where we would hang out every day, every night. It was more like roommates that lived together. So we would chat sometimes, but I would be a lot more by myself. And that's when I started, for the first time, feeling a little bit lonely, where I didn't have my core value, love, met. So that is to say that we can have 1 or 2 of our core values met, but if one core value is lacking, that's when, our happiness may be going down. And so it's always for me, it's always trying to see how can I, to the best of my ability, have all 3 of them met. And when I started living by myself, having my own rooms, I had my own rooms in a few places. I at the time wasn't aware, but I, felt that one of these were lacking: love. And love can be love from friendships, community, relationships. And I did not feel like, I started isolating myself a lot, and I did not have my core value, love, met. And since then, through relationships or friendships, like that's been a journey for me to fulfill the love aspect in my life. And the last few years, I've done so much growth within finding more like-minded friendships, which I've shared a lot on this podcast about how I've done that. And now I'm also so lucky, for the last, has it almost been a year and a half? No, not really, but soon it will be. Found a guy who I am crazy about and who really makes me feel so much love every day. But not just that, because I've been in relationships where the 3rd of my core values haven't been met, which is positive energy. Positive energy is so important to me. I'm someone who wants to be happy. I'm a very happy person, and positive energy, having a positive outlook on life is very important to me. It's a core value of mine that I need positive energy in my life. If there's negativity around, it puts me down. And so I've had previous relationships where that core value has not been met. And it's very important to me that that is met. And so I now in my life feel so lucky because I haven't had all three met for a very long time, since the first time I came to the States, which is like 8 years ago now, or 9 years almost. Like, that's wild. But for many, many years, there's always been something lacking. And now, at this point in my life, I feel like I have all of my core values met, which is just, I feel so grateful. But I believe that's why we're about to get into how you can find your core values and work your way towards making sure that you fulfill all of the core values. I think when you have all those three core values met, as well as practice gratitude, because everything becomes your new norm, right? And then you can always focus on the problems and the issues in your life. But if you're self-aware and focusing on everything good that you have in your life, then that really, I believe, is what leads to happiness. So now I want to get into how you can find your core values so that you can work your way towards fulfilling them. And then also question. I wrote in my journal, I wrote notes in my journal as to what I wanted to speak with you about. I wrote, work towards figuring out whether or not you are attached to a place, a person, a routine that is now not allowing you to find happiness. Because there may be something feeling off in your life right now, but you can't pinpoint why that is. So the way that I have found, and I've found it, I've read about it probably in some book or some worksheet, something, how to find my core values. But the best way I've found is to first write down, like grab a journal and a pen, write down every value you have. Like anything from, I like my house to be clean. So like cleanliness, being active, getting my sleep, eating healthy foods, love, passion, discipline, like anything and everything that for you feels like a value. And you may have hundreds, like there's no limits to how many you can have. And after you've written your entire list, you take a look at that list and you find, we can start off with 10 that are the most important for you. And for me, like you may have noticed, like my core value is not exercise, but you may also be very well aware of the fact that exercise and maybe healthy eating is a very important value for me. However, for me, I put that under freedom, because for me, freedom is like the freedom to do the things that feel good to me. So you may notice that you have to let go of some values that are really important to you, but maybe it's because they are fundamentally a part of another value that you then keep on the page. So you have 10 values left. And once you have 10 values left, you may want to adjust the wording to then cut down the 10 to 3 so that you on the page are left with your 3 core values. And there may be one that, for me, freedom is it. So many different aspects of my life are part of that freedom, but see how you can adjust the wording or find a way to really cut it down to 3 so that you can focus on the 3 values that are the absolute most important to you. And then once you have your 3 core values, you can ask yourself, what do I need in my life to have this core, like take each of the core values step by step. What do I need in my life to make sure that this core value is fulfilled? And it may be a long list, but that's okay. Because then once you have that long list, you can ask yourself, in what ways am I fulfilling every single one of these things? And in what ways have I not been able to fulfill it? And what can I do make sure that this core value is fulfilled? And then dream. Allow yourself to be creative. Maybe you need a brainstorm. Maybe you need to go on a walk and let those thoughts come in. I know for me, I often need both journaling and then also to let my mind wander both during walks or workouts. Like things will come to me as I am doing other things where I'm physically moving my body. For some people, it's in their shower, right? That they have the most crazy revolutionary thoughts. So when you have those three core values, maybe you want to put it on your mirror just to have it like at the top of your mind and asking yourself, what do I need to make sure that these core values are fulfilled? And I want to share something funny with you, or I don't know if it's funny, but an interesting thought that I have been questioned on recently by Alex, my boyfriend, because I've always been wanting to stay in LA. Like, LA is my home. And he asked me recently, do you think that the reason you are so attached to Los Angeles is because this was the place where you did the most evolution? You really blossomed, bloomed. Isn't that what it's called when a flower like expands? Is that because of that? And I had to think on it a little bit, and I do believe that it is because that is where I grew the most. It's where I became the person that I am today. Of course, I still have some left of me of how I grew up and everything, right? Like, we're always a part of everything that we've experienced in life. But I, in LA, really found this level of freedom and found myself, found the love for myself, because a big part of my love core value is also, it's the love I have with others, but it's also the love I have for myself and the love I have for the work that I do and in everything that I am. And I think that the big reason that I was attached to LA was because this is where I found that I could, since we're on the topic of core values, it's where I could find the most of everything that I was looking for in life. However, what I've realized since now traveling, I got the urge to travel the world. I had had that urge for a long time, but I thought I was going to 100% come back to LA after that. But what I found since traveling is that I've been attached to LA because I thought that is where I could find all the happiness that I was looking for and where I could do all the things that I wanted to do in my life. But since traveling, I'm realizing, of course, there's certain places in the world where I feel like I can do it all, and then there's others where I can't. Like, I feel like Denmark maybe isn't the place I want to go live my entire life, because there's certain things I'm not able to do that when how I was talking about the different things within freedom. But I've realized, like, in Costa Rica and Mexico, we're going to Bali next, and I'm sure Greece as well will give me really everything that I potentially need to fulfill all of my core values. And because I have love for in my relationship, for myself and the people I'm around in different areas, I have the freedom to create and be and do whatever I want, and I have the positive energy. As long as Alex's and I's energy is good, as well as the location, the area that I'm in is good, as long as I was talking about the energy, the freedom to create and be and do everything that I want, as long as for me, weather is very important for me to be able to do that. And I have a gym where I'm able to create, and a home where I'm able to create. Like, right now I'm in a little hotel room, like, I'm not able to really create anything in here. So, as long as these core values for me are met, I can really live anywhere. And the reason I'm sharing this with you is because I have realized that I've been so attached to LA because of what previously was what made me happy. Where today I'm realizing I can actually find that with other places. And for you, you may currently be attached to a relationship, to a place, to anything, to a job, because that was what previously brought you that level, that next level of happiness and fulfillment. But maybe it's time to question whether or not that currently is what is needed for you find this level of happiness and peace and anything, all the things that you need in your life to fulfill your core values, fulfill your happiness. There's, we can completely put down everything I've shared today and disagree with every word I've shared, saying that, Pernilla, you can be happy anywhere and with everything you have in this very moment by sitting down and just finding gratitude within everything that you have. And I fully agree with that if we just focus on the good, focus on the gratitude, we can find so much joy in what we are in right now. I can share an example, which I've shared before. It's like it was at a time where I was financially completely broke, and I took any job I could. I was working a job where I had to be like a model, kind of. The companies will hire models to be like kind of spokespersons for whatever product they're selling, and I wasn't really fascinated, interested in the product I was selling. During this job I'd taken that was in Vegas, and I had it for a week. It was like long days, and I had to, just be a model at this place, sharing this information about this product for the company, make more sales. I was not fulfilled with the job I was doing. I was not just like interested at all in any of it, and I was broke, and I wasn't really doing the thing that I wanted to do, and just not having a good time. But then one morning I was like, okay, how can I shift my energy? And I was like, today I'm going to just focus on how many people can I put a smile on their face? How can I make as many people happy today as freaking possible? And I spent the entire day doing that, having that be my intention. And I ended up having this incredible day. My energy completely shifted because I focused on both what did I have good to that I could be grateful for, and also how can I make as many people happy as possible today. And from that, I shifted my energy. I was happy, but I also knew that that wasn't what I wanted to do. Like, more than I essentially needed, more than I had to do. But all of that to say that, regardless of what situation you're in, you can focus to shift your energy by focusing on, maybe like I did, making someone else happy and making that the focus, because when we make someone else happy, then automatically we become happier as well. So, and also, like, I've been in times where I've had like just maybe, let's say, heartbroken, broke, not feeling like my career is going anywhere, miles and miles away from my family, like just like in periods of my life where I've been super low, which, by the way, I'm very grateful for, because when we've felt those super lows, we can feel those highs so much better. And that is important. But it also, when we're that low, it allows us to really want to put everything we've got into making those shifts that are essential. But I'm going on a tangent here, because what I really wanted to say is that when we focus on gratitude, when we focus on what we do have rather than what we don't have, we can be happy no matter what. So everything I've shared today, that to like make sure that we have all our core values set and aligned for us to be happy, is partially correct and partially, incorrect. But because we really can find happiness with everything that we have already. But I do want for you to strive towards creating the best possible life. And I think that if you today, after listening to this podcast episode, put your head down, figure out what are my core values and what shifts can I make in my life, big or small, to make sure that I at least move little bits by bit steps closer to fulfilling these core values, I do think that potentially happiness will be easier on a daily basis. So I'm hoping that something in this podcast inspired you to go do that today. And if you found it valuable, please share it with a friend who you think would find it valuable as well. I am about to go out and live my Scottish best life. I'm doing a what I eat in a day video today, and I am hungry, so I'm excited to see what we're gonna be eating today. I've been meeting Alex's family here in Scotland, and that by itself has been such an experience, because they are living their life in a very not typical normal way, and I find it so inspiring the way that they are raising their kids and just what they are focusing on in their life. And I think Alex's sister and partner have gone through so many, like they've really reflected on their life and how they want to live their life. And I am just taking it all in and getting inspired as to how you can choose to live their life. But that's a podcast. That's a topic for another time, because otherwise I'm going to go on a whole other rambling on how they are homeschooling their kids and raising their kids and just what they're focusing on in their life, because it's beautiful. It's beautiful, the different ways that you can choose to live your life. There's no right or wrong way to live your life, as long as it is in alignment with what you deep down want. And I want you to take that with you as you are hopefully going on this little journey of figuring out your core values and adjusting certain things in your life to feel and create happiness in your life. Thank you so much for listening. It helps me a ton if you write a review or give me some stars so that it reaches more people. Okay, I will leave you to that. Go live my Scottish best life, and I hope you have a beautiful day. I'm sending you so much love, and as always, remember that in order for you to grow, you have to challenge your norm. Bye.